Hey everyone, it's your girl Mimi of Mimi's Mocha Treats, and today we're going to be working on a beautiful set of sugar flowers, which will include roses, filler buds, freesias, and leaves, all for a couple of wedding cakes I have this upcoming weekend. Just a warning, this video will be longer than my usual videos, but I wanted to show you the process of making sugar flowers. Sugar flowers take up a lot of time, and in my opinion, they are the longest process of creating wedding cakes. But the joy of them is that when you're creating them, you can really get lost into creating and crafting each and every petal, and for some reason, I actually find it to be quite meditative. If you want more detailed videos showing each step, let me know in the comments below. Now, as you can see, I'm starting with creating the centers of the classic garden rose, and I thought, while my hands are busy, we could chat a bit. Now, here I am picking out the centers for my garden roses, which are made from styrofoam. This allows the roses to be light and airy. It also decreases the amount of drying time that is required to actually start putting on each petal. Now, for those of you who have been following my channel and watched my last video about my journey with burnout and depression, you know I've been in a bit of a personal journey lately, and something pretty significant happened recently. I was diagnosed with ADHD. It's something that, honestly, looking back, explains a lot about how I've operated, both in my life and in my business for as long as I can remember. You might be wondering, like I was, why it took until my 50s. Yes, I am in my 50s. Actually, the other day I couldn't remember what number I was at. And I was like, yep, I'm in my 50s, but I can't remember which number. Okay. But anyways, it took until I was into my 50s to get a diagnosis. For a long time, ADHD was seen as primarily a childhood disorder, and the way it presented in girls and women often flew under the radar. We might not have been the disruptive kids, but struggled internally with things like inattentiveness, feeling overwhelmed, and yes, sometimes a bit of impulsivity in our creative decisions. It was often chalked up to personality quirks or just being scattered. I know for me, I used to always say, or I still say a lot of times, yeah, I'm just quirky. And I think it's just been a mask to hide the fact that in my brain doesn't operate the same way as someone else's brain may work. I think they call it neurodivergent. I think that's the word. I think that's what it is. I think it's neuroversion. And if not, I will correct this later. And when I was paying attention to my quirkiness, I would find myself comparing myself to other people. Like, why can't I be as organized as such and such? I'm smart, but why do I struggle with planning out my school lessons? Or why do I find it hard to concentrate when I am studying, or even when I'm at work? Because I do still work a full-time job. You know, when I'm sitting at my desk, whether it's at the office or at home, I can get lost and my attention can just go south within 20 seconds. Like if I'm studying or if I'm focusing on something and a fly enters the room, all I can do is focus on that fly. It's so crazy to me. And for such a long time, I just thought, okay, well, you know, maybe I'm a little bit off. And then this brings me to something that really struck me as I started to learn more and more about ADHD, the statistics, particularly for Black women. Now, while there's a growing awareness, the data specifically on adult Black women with ADHD is still limited. However, research does suggest that ADHD is underdiagnosed in the Black community starting in childhood. Studies have shown that Black children are less likely to receive an ADHD diagnosis compared to their white peers, even when they show similar symptoms. Instead, those kids, especially boys, are labeled as troublemakers. They don't know how to behave. They don't know how to listen. They don't. And you know, that's just so disheartening to learn. So What is interesting is that some research, like a meta-analysis I came across, actually found that Black individuals might be at a higher risk of an ADHD diagnosis than the general population. The prevalence among Black children and youth under 18 was around 14%. This highlights a real disparity in who is being identified and supported. The underdiagnosis, especially in Black females, can have some really negative consequences, impacting everything from academic performance and behavior to mental health challenges later in life. Now, when I look back at my childhood, I remember teachers would always say, Mimi is a great student, but sometimes she spaces out. Mimi is a great student, but she's very chatty Cathy. Mimi is a great student, but XYZ. And now when I look back, I'm like, hey, did no one take the time to look more into that? I mean, I guess if I'm still getting the good grades, it really wouldn't matter to them, right? But those were clear signs that something was, I hate to use the word off, but yeah, some things were off. Now, historically, boys have been more likely to get a formal ADHD diagnosis in childhood, but the research suggests that this gender gap narrows as we reach adulthood, with women and men being diagnosed at roughly the same rate. However, the way ADHD presents in women can be different. It's not always the hyperactivity that we typically associate with ADHD. Instead, women might experience more, here are the words, inattentiveness, anxiety, and depression, along with the struggles with organization and time management. Ding, 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 procrastination. That's my husband, all right? Things I can definitely relate to in running my cake business because, baby, the way procrastination and time blindness literally lives in my spirit is uncanny. Friends have often heard me say I am single because I'm basically married to my procrastination. And for Black women like myself, the experience with ADHD is even more complex. We navigate the intersection of racism and sexism, which can create unique barriers to accessing diagnosis and treatment. Think about it. Stereotypes, biases in the healthcare system, and cultural expectations can all play a role in why Black women might not be recognized or believed when seeking help. Thankfully, there's a growing awareness and recognition of the importance of addressing this underdiagnosis in Black women. More research is being done, and hopefully more support will become available. When I decided to seek help, I was blessed with an amazing African female psychiatrist who diagnosed me within minutes. It didn't take long. I want to say she was probably on question 5, and she was like, yeah, you got the hyper one. You got the hyper version, okay? But she still showed me so much empathy and grace when I talked about my fears of taking medication daily, which is another issue in the African American community, as I feared becoming addicted to them. I had this mindset of there are certain medications that I know work for about, I think it's 8 to 10 hours, and then you crash. And I didn't want those constant spikes. I didn't want to feel like, I get up in the morning and I don't feel the greatest. I take the medication, and then for, 8 to 10 hours, I'm on point, and then I crash. And I can't do anything after that because, again, as I mentioned before, I still work a full-time job. So if the medication works great while I'm working, but then at nighttime when it's time for me to work on my cakes, I can't crash because I'm already dealing with procrastination, and procrastination, sort of can affect my schedule. But here's the funny thing. Let me just share this little tidbit with you guys. I know this is going to sound really, really weird. If I only have like 1 or 2 cakes that's when procrastination like really shows its ugly face. That's when it becomes an abusive relationship between me and procrastination. But don't let it ever be a situation where I've got 5 or more cakes due within a 3-week span. For whatever reason, I can focus. I may do it with not a lot of energy or desire, but I can do it, which I just find it to be so weird, because in my opinion, I feel like I would be more likely to procrastinate when I know I have a heavy load coming ahead of me instead of when I have a light load. Or maybe it's because I have a light load and I'm like, oh, I've got time. And then of course the time blindness plays a part, and then, that whole story. Okay. So now let me just tell you how this has played out in my cake business. Well, looking back, things like struggling with starting tasks, getting easily distracted by new ideas. Listen, don't let me think of a technique when I have an order coming up, because I will spend so much time focusing on that technique and then be like, oh crap, I still got to get this order done. And the technique has nothing to do with that specific order that I have due. It's just crazy to me. Okay. And then sometimes feeling overwhelmed by the sheer number of details in a custom order, it all makes a lot more sense now. Now, I've had to develop my own coping mechanisms over the years, some healthy, some maybe not so much. But learning about ADHD has been like getting a new lens to see my experiences. I'll give you an example of the not so healthy. So I already have a problem with sleep, right? I suffer from very, very light apnea and insomnia. I think the insomnia is genetic. Thanks, Daddy. I really appreciate it. But he had the same problem too. So when he was here with me, we used to compare notes about who got the most sleep or who didn't get the most sleep. Okay. Anyways, when I was studying architecture at Howard University, the real HU for all of you Hamptonians, it worked in my favor, right? The not sleeping, not being able to sleep, staying up all night, working in design class, it worked in my favor. And because I would procrastinate with my classwork, hey, that's fine. I can stay up for the next 4 nights to get it done, right? But that wasn't the healthiest way to approach it, because when it came to presentations, I would be jittery. I couldn't remember what my design concept was about. I was anxious. I was lightheaded. And that was something that I took into the cake business. You can ask friends or fellow cake artists, it'll be 4:00 in the morning. And we're complaining about the fact that, oh my gosh, it's 4:00 and I'm so tired, 4 a.m. and I'm so tired, but I'm still working. But we wouldn't be working like that if we hadn't been playing around and procrastinating, if that makes sense. So that makes it unhealthy, because I'm not getting the much needed rest that I need to still run my cake business while working a full-time job. So learning about ADHD has been like getting a whole new lens to see my new experiences, or my own experiences. And the medication I'm taking now helps. And I was grateful that the prescription I chose to use isn't one of the addictive ones, and it doesn't, like I mentioned before, come with a lot of high and low energy spikes. Now, it's been a journey, and I'm still learning. I wanted to share this with you all because if you're out there, especially if you're a Black woman who's ever felt like something was a bit different or off, and I'm doing air quotes right now, maybe this will resonate with you. It's okay to seek answers, and it's never too late to understand yourself better. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And, have you ever had similar experiences? If so, let's start a conversation and offer support where needed. I'm here to listen. Trust me. Just let me know. We listen and we do not judge. Now, if you want to see how these flowers that I'm making in this video are used, Please stay tuned next week as I show the finished cakes and even take you on one of the deliveries. Now that I have talked a hole in your head, I am going to just go ahead and let you watch the rest of this video in silence, with a little bit of music in the background. Now, if you're interested in learning more about sugar flowers, I do have a detailed video here on how I make sugar dahlias. I'll link it up. You know, I'm pointing up. You can't see me pointing, but yeah, I'm pointing. And also stay tuned for a future video where I will show you how to use the Wilton 5-rose petal cutter to create sugar roses with as much detail as those more expensive cutters and veiners that are out there. I think we all have to start from somewhere, and you know, we don't all need to go out and spend $20, $30 on one set of petal cutters and veiners, especially as we're first learning. And Wilton does have some pretty amazing products that we can manipulate to make look like as if we did use those $25 to $30 cutters. Okay, it'll be a great video for new cake artists who are interested in upping their sugar flower game, and you know, I'll be here to walk you through each step. Okay, and of course, don't forget to like and subscribe for more cake tutorials and honest chats from the cake studio, as I refer to my space. And if you're interested in actually seeing my cake studio, and I can walk you through how I organize my space and the products that I use, just let me know in the comments below and I will definitely record that for you. So in the meantime, thanks for working with me today, and I hope you have an amazingly sweet day.